I'm James Causey, Ideas Lab reporter with the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. Welcome to the latest edition of Listen MKE, a collaboration of the Journal Sentinel, Milwaukee PBS, WWM 89.7 Milwaukee's NPR, and Milwaukee Public Library. Today's edition will look at motor vehicle thefts. As of February 15th, 1,117 vehicles have been stolen in the city of Milwaukee. That's a 143% increase over the same time last year. Motor vehicle thefts have a lasting impact on our community, from the victims who have their cars stolen to the citizens who drive these streets every day trying to avoid reckless drivers. Everyone is impacted. Today's panel will discuss the alarming trend. Why is it increasing? What can you do to protect yourself? What are the penalties for someone stealing a car? And do these penalties account for just a slap on the wrist for a juvenile? And more importantly, what can we do to bring this under control? Our panel for today's discussion is Milwaukee District Attorney John Chisholm, Victor Burnett, founder and executive director of Running Rebels, Kenneth Wallace, a youth who participates with Running Rebels, District 5 Alderwoman Nakia Dodd, Milwaukee Police Captain Eric Pfeiffer, and we may have Dorothy Smith, a resident who recently had her car stolen. But before we get started, please submit your questions to the panel as we go along. This event is for you to be heard as well, and the panel is here to answer your questions. I'm just here to facilitate and put on constructive dialogue, so please submit your questions. But I think what we're going to do first is start with Captain Pfeiffer so he can set the tone on why are bad. And take it away. Your mic is off.
We'll try that again. There we go. Sorry about that. Well, okay. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak with you today about this very important topic. You mentioned some of the numbers already. We actually noticed the trend in the vehicle thefts in the fall of 2020. And unfortunately, it's continued into 2021 so far this year. But we are not alone with this problem. We're seeing this across the country with other colleagues that we've spoken with in other cities, whether they're large or small. We're seeing this trend so far. And we're coming up with some ideas as to how we can go about combating some of these problems. But some of the things that we're noticing is that the Kias and the Hyundais are the two top vehicles that are being stolen so far. Right now, what we're seeing is the Kias that are 2011 or newer, or Hyundais that are 2015 or newer. Compared with last year, we've seen an increase in Kia thefts about 32%, and the Hyundais about 31% compared to last year. In my district, in District 4, which is on the far northwest side of the city, we've seen a 142% increase in vehicle thefts. At this point last year, we were at 74, and right now we're at 180. So there's been a lot of talk about vehicle thefts, and one of the things that obviously concerns citizens out there, because we get these calls all the time about what's going on, how is this happening, what can I do to protect myself and my vehicle from being victimized. And what we're seeing is with the suspects that are involved in these vehicle thefts is that they're breaking the back window to gain entry to your vehicle, and then they end up breaking the steering column to the vehicle. And once they get into that vehicle, they're obviously they're going to start using that stolen vehicle to commit other crimes, whether they get into pursuits with the police or they're involved in reckless driving, which we're seeing all around the city. But they're also committing to get from one place to another, joyriding, and then they're dumping that vehicle to move on to something else. Because the last thing that they want is to get caught with that vehicle, so they're trying to get rid of that car as quickly as they can. And in some circumstances, we're actually seeing where they're actually post these vehicles online rather quickly for sale. And in some instances, we're seeing them being sold for $25, which seems incredible. But what that is telling us is that the majority of folks in these crimes are youth, are teenagers. We're seeing a stance from anywhere from a 12-year-old to a 28-year-old that are involved in these crimes. But it's shocking to the conscious, I think, to think about a 12-year-old actually getting into a vehicle and knowing how to drive that car. So that's one of the concerns that we have, obviously, when we're trying to catch up to these folks, is that, okay, well, who are we dealing with here? And what are the underlying problems or issues in trying to apprehend this person and try to avoid anybody else getting hurt along the way? We understand that it's very frustrating for our citizens to be victimized by this kind of crime. But there are a number of things that we're trying to do to stem the tide. And within the coming weeks, we're going to be introducing a program that's been implemented or will be implemented by Chief Norman that will combat some of these issues and hopefully bring some of this crime to a halt.
When you're talking about this program, is this program going to focus?
I'm sorry, you broke up, James. But as far as the new initiative that we're going to be involved in, I don't want to necessarily say too much about it right now, but Chief Norman has put together a plan. He understands that there's concern by our citizens. We recognize that there's a problem that we need to address, and within the coming weeks, he's going to make an announcement regarding that initiative. And just wait and see. We're pretty confident that it'll have a pretty good effect on the crime. I think we wanted to talk about if cars are stolen, what exactly do citizens do? And there's a lot of questions. Should I go out and try to find my own car? I call the police and they're not calling me back. And we've had some citizens go out and try to locate their own vehicles. And we wouldn't necessarily say that that's a good thing to do. A lot of times when you're dealing with car thieves, they're also involved in other crimes, and they may be armed. So it's not necessarily a good idea for somebody to go out and try to find their vehicle and perhaps get into a confrontation with that suspect, and then possibly get hurt in the process. So what we're asking folks is to call the police, call 911, and let them know your circumstances and try to get out a description of your vehicle. It's a good idea to have all of your information on your vehicle. Sometimes people don't remember their plate numbers or their VIN numbers, but it's a good thing to have handy just in case. And certainly don't have your title left in the car, because that's an easy thing for thieves to grab up, and then the next thing you know, your vehicle is unfortunately sold, and then there's a legal process that you're going to have to go through in order to rectify that problem. But if you end up finding your own vehicle in the process of waiting for the police, or you've already reported it and you have an idea as to where your vehicle is, once again, just keep an eye on it, call the police and let them know that you located your vehicle. Really what we don't want people to do is to get into their vehicle or to mess around with it anyway. There's evidence there that we're going to try to obtain fingerprints and DNA and such, and any other items that may have been left behind by any of the suspects that originally took the car. So just call the police and we'll get there as soon as we can, and just make sure that you're at a good safe distance. Property can be replaced, but people can't. So stay safe and make sure that we're notified, and we'll take it from there.
Yes, sorry about that. I lost my broadcast, but I'm back to you. One thing I want to bring up is this issue with youth as young as 12 years old involved in this. And I talked to a woman who told me that, her Hyundai got stolen. It was a 2020. The perpetrator was a 12-year-old who led police on a high-speed chase, totaled her car, and next thing you know, he was back at home with his mother, but she was left with a car that she has to figure out what to do with. They totaled the car out. Now she has to find another car. So when you're chasing someone and you're looking for a 12-year-old, what goes through an officer's mind? What kind of stress does that put on the force?
Well, it's very stressful. Any police chase is going to be stressful, no matter the circumstances, whether we're chasing after an armed robbery suspect or chasing after a stolen vehicle, or it might be one and the same for that circumstance. One of the things that we have to do as police officers is weigh the totality of the circumstances and the danger involved in getting into a police chase on a city street, depending on the time of the day. And so one thing that we obviously don't want to do, and I mentioned it already, is to possibly get somebody injured, never mind who's involved, but we don't want somebody that's completely not involved in the circumstances that we're dealing with at the moment to be injured as well. So we have to balance those things with obviously trying to recover that vehicle, get the suspects in custody so that they can answer for their crimes, but also make sure that the citizens are safe and that we're not needlessly and recklessly getting involved into a police pursuit where that could occur. And so it's left up to the officer to determine that, but we also have our supervisors that also are monitoring those. And if they feel that a pursuit is dangerous, then they're going to cancel it. We can always go get that car another day. And like I said before, it's frustrating to citizens sometimes because they feel like, maybe the police could have done more. But like I said, property can be replaced, and I understand the expense of a vehicle, but people can't be. And especially when you're talking about a 12-year-old that obviously shouldn't be driving a car and doesn't have the maturity or the mental capacity to operate a vehicle properly, that has to come into play too. And if our officers know, for example, that say a 12-year-old is driving the vehicle, that's going to be taken into account. And we may not actually even chase that vehicle simply because we know that that person doesn't have the mental aptitude to drive the vehicle properly. So we don't want to induce a vehicle accident that was as a result of getting involved in a pursuit. So we understand those issues, but we always try our best, and we always try to make the right decisions with every circumstance that we come across. But we just want to let the community know that we're trying our best every day. We understand that this is very frustrating for the folks out there, and sometimes it's just one of those circumstances where unfortunately, quote unquote, the bad guy is going to have to get away at least for that day. But we'll catch up to them eventually, and we're pretty good about recovering evidence after the fact, and we're arresting folks after the fact, after we recover vehicles, after they're recovered on the street, and then we'll actually catch up to those folks at a different time.
Okay, let's go on to District Attorney John Chisholm. Thanks a lot, Captain. We're going to bring John Chisholm on. Hi, John. How you doing?
Good, James.
Good. So, as a district attorney, can you explain to people the penalties for an adult carjacking someone as opposed to a juvenile with a weapon carjacking someone? What are the penalties and how do they differ? Because I think a lot of people don't really understand the big difference in what they could face as far as penalties.
Actually, the penalties are the same no matter what. And so what changes is the venue in which they are assessed and potentially prosecuted. And those systems are very, very different. So on the adult side, anybody 17 years of age and older is subject. Generally, the cases that are brought in on the adult side are generally some version of operating an auto without owner's consent. Our experience is that those are often attended with other crimes, such as fleeing the officers when the car is detected as being stolen, and oftentimes it's been stolen days or even weeks prior. But the Milwaukee Police Department keeps a list of every reported stolen car, and so at some point in time they observe that car, they conduct a stop. What we have seen on the adult side is that there tend to be there's a reasonable chance that it's going to result in a chase, and that once the person is apprehended that there could be drugs, there could be guns, things of that nature. On the juvenile side of things, with the young people that are involved in these, it's a very different system. But the crime is the same, so we still have to prove the exact same elements. The difference being that the case is generally, it's not brought into the district attorney's office initially, which is the major distinction. And the adult side, the police bring the case directly to the DA's office under normal circumstances, and we'll have to talk about this is not normal circumstances by a long shot. The person is generally detained in the jail until we determine whether to charge the case or not. On the juvenile side, the case is always brought into a social worker, a county social worker who screens that case and makes a determination whether the juvenile is going to be detained or not. And that's what leads to some of the misunderstanding that you hear from citizens and maybe even from some of your guests today, is that oftentimes the decision is made to release the child back to their family, to their guardian. And sometimes that case isn't even sent to us for review for up to 30 days. So that's a significant distinction that results in some concerns, and we share those concerns. You want to intervene as quickly as you can possibly intervene, and that intervention doesn't necessarily mean putting somebody in detention, but it does mean that you want to start addressing the problem as quickly as possible. That's why I'm glad you have Victor Barnett here. We can talk about how important that element is to things as well. But the reality is you're dealing with two very distinct systems in the juvenile side and on the adult side.
Well, let me ask you this. How many car thefts does a juvenile have to have on their record before they face serious consequences? Because you hear sometimes, a juvenile may have like 8 or 9 car thefts on their record, but they still are not facing any serious consequences. What goes behind that?
Well, that's a determination that ultimately has to be made by the judges in children's court. Again, unlike the adult side of things, where generally the decision by the prosecutor tends to control how the case will unfold from that point on. Again, it's very different in the children's court side of things. What we do is we can issue a delinquency petition, we can make recommendations, and they can go to trial, but ultimately the decision on what to do with the youth is left to the hands of the judges themselves.
How do you work at all with the juvenile correction facility? Is there a lot of communication, or is very little communication between your office and?
No, so we communicate extensively. Yeah, so we communicate extensively with all the partners in the system, and you have to also understand that unlike the adult side of things, like for example, a probation agent is a state probation agent on the adult side. On the juvenile side, there are actually 2 forms of supervision. Some are county probation agents for the individuals that have not been sent, for example, to Lincoln Hills. It's not until after you've been sent to Lincoln Hills that you are then returned into the custody of a state probation agent. So, our current numbers at Lincoln Hills are, I believe, are below 20, which goes to the issue that the reality is that we have a lot of resources for what I would call low to moderate risk kids in the Milwaukee area. We have next to nothing for high risk kids. And that's the problem from my perspective that urgently has to be addressed. And unfortunately, we've known this for a long time, right? We know the conditions in Lincoln Hills are horrible. But the problem is when we were given the opportunity to address that problem, even though it came grossly under-resourced, we didn't do anything with it. So at some point in time, you have to have options at the local level that will address the higher risk kids, so that you can allow entities like Victor and other community-based organizations to do the great work they do. But they're really not designed to deal with a kid, like you're saying, a 12-year-old that's involved in this, or somebody that has repeat offenses. You're left with an all or nothing determination. You either send somebody to Lincoln Hills, or you try to find a community-based option. And that's what frustrates people, particularly if the community-based option doesn't provide enough oversight and control.
I'm glad you brought up Lincoln Hills. So there's been some thought out there from certain people who have sent me messages saying that they want to know if there is an effort out there to work as hard as possible not to send you to Lincoln Hills because of Lincoln Hills' reputation. Is that true?
I think it plays a factor in the thinking that the actors responsible for making the decision have to consider. And that's why my strong advocacy several years ago was that we create smaller, community-based, but secure sites. And by smaller, ideally you would have no more than 10 kids in a facility, and that you would have essentially a 2-to-1 ratio of staff to child. The advantage of that is that they can remain in the community, they can be closely monitored, they can be given the right interventions, but they can still stay in touch with their families. What we're doing right now simply doesn't work. And we know it doesn't work, because when we send kids to Lincoln Hills, it's almost like the express ticket to the adult system. The failure rate out of the juvenile correction side is astronomical. And it's, I think Eric would tell you that police officers have long known that stealing cars is sort of the gateway. It's sort of the gateway crime to much deeper system involvement. And so it's a major concern. Now, I'll just have to add that look, we're not just in a public health crisis, right? We are in a public safety crisis in Milwaukee County. That's what makes us distinct from all the other 72 counties. The current system is operating at about 30 to 40% capacity. We only have 4 operating trial courts. We had over 191 homicides last year, almost 800 non-fatal shootings. That doesn't count the sexual assaults, the armed robberies. It doesn't account for the domestic violence cases. Every single day in our one domestic violence court that's open right now, we have 20 to 30 jury trials set a day. The Milwaukee Police Department is spread about as thin as they can possibly be spread. We have 165 people awaiting homicide trial in the jail. So the backlog is immense. And from my standpoint, it is absolutely imperative that the state recognize that in order for us to effectively implement our crime control strategies, and we have done that in the past. As Eric mentioned, we've implemented strategies that have shown real results and managed to reduce the violent crime, reduce the auto thefts. It's just incredibly difficult to do that right now when the system is effectively closed down. I know that law enforcement is eligible for vaccinations. That corrections is eligible for vaccinations, but public defenders, prosecutors, judges, they're not even listed in the next eligible groups. It could be June or July before those groups are eligible for vaccination. And in the meantime, you can predict that the numbers are going to continue to rise, and they have continued to rise. So it's a really serious crisis right now that I would encourage people to contact their state representatives and tell them that real attention needs to be paid to this issue so that we can get the system operating again.
Okay, thanks a lot, DA. We'll get back to you with some questions from the audience. We're going to go now to Dorothy Smith. Dorothy is a woman who recently had her car stolen, and I just want people to hear what she has to say about the impact what impact this leaves on you after you have your car stolen. Dorothy, what happened?
Hello, everyone. My name is Dorothy Smith, and my car was stolen February 6th in front of my house. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I parked it that Saturday, and I got up to get ready for church. So I went to look for my car, and it was gone. It didn't automatically dawn on me that someone had taken my car. So I went back and looked again, thinking that I had parked it somewhere else. So when I went back, I actually said, my car is gone. And I called one of my church members and I told them, they said, well, maybe it was towed. It couldn't have been towed because you can park anywhere you want to park on a Saturday. The car note was up to par and I have no tickets. So I went outside and looked on the ground and it was glass. So automatically I knew that my car was stolen. So I called to report it was stolen, and the police officers don't take stolen vehicles over the phone. So I had to go down there and report that my car was stolen. But the impact that it has left on me has been really bad due to the fact that I don't have transportation. My schedule, I work split shifts at work. Right now I'm at work. I work from 10 to 12:30. And then I go home. I come back again at 5:30. I get off at 9 o'clock. I'm very busy in my church activities. I do stuff in the community. I'm a person that in the community, I give away clothes, I give away shoes, book bags. I'm a youth pastor. So my passion is for the youth people. So actually, they found my car. Actually, my car was parked on the south side that Monday. They found my car. The police called me and told me my car was on South 37th Street. So I went to get my car. I didn't think any damages was done to it because the way it looked it from the outside and from the side of the driver's side, it didn't look like anything was done to it. But the kids, they tore my steering column up, my bumper, they pulled it off and did a lot of damage to the bumper. My window is busted. The mirror inside of the car is torn. They tore that off. I have a lot of scratches on my car. They wore my brakes down. My brakes was worn so bad I couldn't even really drive my car. It was hard to drive my car, even to park it into my garage.
We actually have
They
pictures
damaged
of
my car so bad.
we
That's my
actually
car
have
right
pictures of
there.
your car right now, yeah, that we're looking at. And
Yes,
yeah.
yes, it's damaged. And let me tell you this: by me putting my car that was stolen on Facebook, you have people that say that they can track your car. And so, me being a person right now desperate at that time, and I need my car, um, the guy said that he would track my car for $300, and I really didn't want to pay $300, and I already was missing my car. So what I did was that I said, "Well, I'll give you $200." Okay. So I sent this guy $200 through Cash App, but it failed in Cash App because Cash App wouldn't send it to him because they said that uh, um, it was a danger to me or something. That's why they didn't send my $200 to him. And so I had another person. So when people cars get stolen, you have people come to them saying that they could track their car, and then you have to pay this certain amount of money. But if I had paid that guy my $200 and he didn't find my car, the police found my car and called me. And so it actually has done a lot to me emotionally, mentally, because I haven't been sleeping. I haven't been sleeping that well. And due to the fact that I can use my daughter's car sometimes, she have a Kia. So I'm afraid by me using her car and parking her car in places that her car is going to get stolen as well. So it's really messing with me mentally. It did a lot to me. And before my car was stolen, I was already going through like transition because I was living in a house 8 years and the landlord sold the house and I had to move out within 23 days. So within that, after moving out, I was not even in the area of 85th and Vienna even 3 weeks before my car was stolen. So that it put me in It put me in a bound. Now I'm looking at over $2,000 to pay to put my car in the shop on Thursday. And that's a lot of money that I don't have to spend.
Did you have insurance?
At that time, I dropped it. At that time, I dropped my insurance, and I shouldn't have done that because my insurance would have covered that. But I picked some insurance up. I'm through Progressive now, but due to the fact that I wasn't under them at the time, that my car was stolen, I'm liable for everything that's wrong with my car right now. I have to pay for it. Even like today, I couldn't even get an Uber because of the weather. So now I'm just, I don't have transportation because of what they've done to my car.
And that shouldn't happen. That shouldn't happen.
It shouldn't have happened, and I know I should. Go ahead. I'm sorry, sir.
No, I was going to say, and these are the types of stories that we really don't hear about. We know about people getting their cars stolen, but I had no idea about the scam that's out there telling people that they could track your car down. I didn't know about that.
Yes, I have a receipt from it. Cash App would not send them the $200. They denied it. And he kept calling me and kept calling me. Yes.
Well, I'm pretty sure the police department will want to look into the scam artists that are out there preying on people who are already been victims as well. So I want to thank you for sharing your story with us, and I hope everything works out. And I'm really sorry that happened to you, but I really wanted people to hear what happens to victims when somebody tells you it's a victimless crime. What would you say to them?
Of this crime?
Yeah, a victimless crime. Like if somebody tells you like a car theft is a victimless crime, like it doesn't hurt anyone, what would you say to them?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does hurt you. Yes, it does. It affects your finances. We're actually right now, we're in the middle of a pandemic. People already are having problems, struggling, trying to make ends meet, trying to take care of their children and all that kind of stuff. It is. Yes. And I understand that the children, they're children. I have a passion for young people as well. But right now, I'm sorry to say, but I'm a little upset.
What do you think should be
done to me?
What do you think should be done?
You know what? There's so many things that could be done. But first of all, there's something has to start in the household. There's a lack of something in the household that the children are not getting. There's a lack of love. There's a lack of guidance in the household. And a lot of times when the kids are missing this kind of things in the household, it begins to come outside of the behavior. They begin to start acting out on the outside. And what you see right now is kids acting out of what they're dealing with at home. Parents not paying them attention. Parents not taking care of them, doing what they need to do by their children. And their children are seeking the attention that they're not seeking outside. This is what you're seeing. And as far as the 10 and the 12-year-old, the 10 and the 12-year-old are getting involved in this kind of stuff because they're not being taken care of as well. Through the summer, what you see is a lot of little children hanging with big kids. And when you see that kind of stuff with little kids hanging with big kids, they're learning so much. They're learning things from these big kids. It has to start in the household. We can put it on the police, we can put it on the teachers, we can put it on the mentors, but a lot of this stuff, charity starts at home first.
Well, thank you for sharing your story, and keep us posted on what happens with your car. And I got a feeling that good things will come from this. So if I hear anything, I'll let you know too. We're going to move on to Alderwoman Nakia Dodd, who has been addressing this issue in her district and trying to curb this problem. Nakia, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. So you just heard the story from a woman who lost her car and she didn't have insurance and had it suffered this financial hardship. You're hearing this all the time. What is the Common Council doing to address the issue of motor vehicle thefts?
You're correct. We're hearing it a lot, especially in my district. I have had several conversations with residents about the hardship that this situation has had on their lives. And again, it's all because of the pandemic and the fact that it's just so much going on that families, they're trying to take care of other family members in addition to themselves. As far as the Common Council, one of the suggestions I got from a resident is, can the Common Council do anything to help in this situation? And particularly financially, because one of the things that was recommended was a wheel lock for people's cars. And as you all know, we are past the budget session for the Common Council, and therefore there hasn't been a financial obligation or support to families at this time. But I have personally taken upon myself, along with four or five other businesses in the district, that have helped me purchase car steering wheel locks for residents that live in the 5th Automatic District. And it's not going to answer all the questions, and it's not going to stop some of the issues of people stealing vehicles, but I think that it will deter people after a while if we are able to provide some type of support to families. And that's something that I will be looking to as we move forward in our next budget season. But as we all know, at this point, our hands are tied as well. But I have been working with District 7 Police District, because that is one of the areas that overlap my district, and have been getting, the insight and just information of what is going on in my district in particularly, and even around the city. I mean, we're hearing about it all over the city. We're getting the OMAPs and things of that nature that are allowing us to see what's going on. And so I think, myself and others are keeping our eyes and ears open and really looking at some solutions and what we can do moving forward. And like I said, that's just a step I've taken as far as working with some of the businesses in my district, helping me to purchase about 50 steering wheel locks, which obviously is not enough. But I will say this, the families that were affected the most in my district were the ones that I saw kind of step up and take advantage of this free opportunity for getting a steering wheel lock.
So, Nakia, so what are your constituents telling you? You often hear that youth don't have enough to do, and that's part of the reason, especially with school being the way it is. What can we do to address this so-called boredom that our kids are going through? Or do you even believe it's boredom?
As I was listening to other panel members speak, and particularly the police, and talking about the ages of these young people, it's a sad situation, but it's like, I've actually seen, I've been watching this situation for many years. When I was in college, I remember seeing a little boy that when I was working at a youth program, he was actually one of my students at the time. It was a summer program. And I saw the little boy behind the wheel, and I know he was about 12 years old, and so it's like these situations just keep repeating themselves. As far as what can be done as far as boredom and things of that nature, I think that there are lots of, hopefully we can put together some opportunities that our youth organizations who work with youth. Obviously, I'm thinking of, the YMCAs and different organizations that could be beneficial to keeping our kids active and engaged. But during this pandemic, it's kind of challenging to say if they're bored or not, because mostly everybody's home for the most part. I mean, you have a lot of people working, and so it's just, I really am not sure at this time if I could just say blatantly it's boredom. It's a lot of factors that I think contribute to this issue, and I think because we have kids are not in school at this time, could possibly increasing why they're out stealing cars. But it's really, hard to tell. I mean, I'm home with a 6-year-old. And so I'm spending a lot of time helping my child with his schoolwork. So, and and I see other families and parents doing the same thing from his school, obviously. But it's I would be careful to say if they're bored, but something is wrong. Something is happening. I've also at one point heard that not all these kids that are stealing cars are from Milwaukee. There have been rumors that they're traveling from Chicago, things of that nature. So it's really I'm not sure.
Yeah, we're starting to get some Facebook questions in, and I'm gonna go to some of them. There's a bunch, so give me a second. One is, I think this is more of a statement. Poverty is the problem. Address poverty, and that will address crime. How do you feel about that? This is a poverty problem and not a issue of just crime. I mean, the two are connected. What would you say to something like that, Nakia?
Well, we definitely know that poverty has a role in crime, obviously. But when you're talking about 12-year-olds, I mean, something else is going on. Again, it could be who's involved in their lives, who's not involved in their lives, what messages they're being sent in the home, in their community, all of those things. I think there are so many different factors that we can contribute to this, and poverty certainly is one of those things. I would part of what my thinking as I'm answering this question is, I'm saying that there are families, parents at home, but quite frankly, there are obviously parents who are working 1 and 2 jobs trying to make ends meet. So they may not be home with these kids. There are a lot of factors, that we can contribute to it. But yeah, I guess to answer the question and get straight to the point, poverty certainly is a factor.
Another question directed at you, Nakia. It says, Nakia voted for more police earlier in the year. After seeing she wouldn't, why invest in incarceration and punitive measures rather than restorative justice? What would you say to that?
There's a lot of misinformation in our community about what people think about voting for more police or whatever that may be. Certainly, we have to invest in social justice. And there are ways we can do that. We can support the organizations that we currently have, which the city do that through various opportunities. And then there are ways that, we can get involved and volunteer in our communities to also help as well. But for the most part, we got to, I'm not a fan of investing in incarceration just to say we want to lock people up. I'm not even, I would go as far as to say as I'm not a fan of saying, put kids in juvenile detention centers just because they're still in vehicles. There might be another way that we can handle that. And I think that is, again, investing in our youth organizations and being able to support those organizations that support youth and getting involved in that kind of way.
And I think this is a good segue to move on to Victor Barnett at Running Rebels. Victor, let's bring on Victor Barnett. How you doing, Vic?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Good. So this is a tough issue to tackle, especially I know you guys work with a lot of youth who have been involved with these types of crimes. So what are these youth telling you? What do they need? How can we get involved? Is this a mentoring issue? Tell me what needs to happen.
Yeah, it was very interesting listening. I'd like to start out by saying I'm not justifying anything, but I do say that majority of our young people are not stealing cars. The majority of our young people are doing okay. Some of the young people that's even stealing the cars, there are different levels. Some of the young people it's the trend now for young people. It becomes the fun thing and the end thing for them to do, just like when young people are going to the mall and getting into fights. So sad to say that a lot of our young people are just following suit. They're getting caught up into what young people are doing. It's a real big misunderstanding. I think when the young lady was talking earlier about the pain that she's going through, the inconvenience that she's going through. So that big misunderstanding and the hurt that our adults go through when their cars are stolen. That's not insight or the understanding for a lot of our young people. So the education that they need to understand what comes with me still in this car. How does it affect other people? So I heard us mention the boredom. We have to do a better job on the front end of connecting to the young people, not only just because we put things out there, but we must be connecting to them. At our organization, we work with thousands of young people a year. Majority of them young people not still in the cars, but some of the ones that are, they're dealing with some of the issues that you guys talked about earlier, that lack of love, that lack of hope, the poverty, and sometimes the rough situations that they're going through. So we do things, and we've had some city funding in the past to do some things around a campaign, Jack a Car, Jack Up Your Life, trying to get the young people to understand what comes with that and the consequences that come with that. We're looking forward to some work we're going to be doing moving forward along the lines of reckless driving, which definitely ties into a young person stealing a car and driving and threatening his own and other people's lives. So it's a big situation and a big conversation that needs to happen on the front end. And then we need to put the work in to get our young people to better understand the consequences that come with and the hurt and pain that people go through when their cars are stolen.
When you talk about the hurt and pain, how do you tie in the form of mentorship and helping these youth to change their behavior? Do you need more mentors? I mean, what can we do to get youth to change their ways?
I think that ties into connecting to our young people. Yes, you can have a lot of agencies that are out here that are doing great work and connected to those young people and helping them understand and pulling them away from what they may have thought was just joyriding or fun, but getting them to understand it. But I think in our communities and the churches and all in our city, we need to do a better job of connecting to the young people. So when a 10-year-old, 12-year-old kid is in your neighborhood, you know him and you see him hanging with older guys and it's not positive, somebody need to intervene. So that positive role model needs to be something that we continue to put in front of our young people.
I would like to bring on Kenneth Wallace now, who's a youth who participates in your program. Hi, Kenneth. And I want to keep, let's keep Victor Burnett up there as well. How you doing, Ken?
How you doing?
Good. So tell me about, why do you think youth are participating in car thefts at such an alarming rate?
I think people do it for like entertainment.
When you say entertainment, is it out of a lack of boredom, or what are you trying to say?
Like people be doing it just for like show and tell.
Mm-hmm.
Like to impress people.
To impress people.
Yeah.
When you heard Dorothy tell her message of how the pain she went through after she lost her car, what kind of feeling went through you after you heard that?
It was just sad.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wouldn't want nothing to happen to me like that, or someone, or nobody else.
Yeah. Victor, do you sense when you hear young people talk about some of the things that they did, do you often get that sense of remorse, or do they not understand the consequences of the actions that they did?
I don't think they understand. There are some people that lose their job because they can't get to work. When they still in the cars, and like Ken said, is they just, to them, sometimes they're having fun. They're doing what the kids do, and they impressing their friends, and now their friends are slapping five, and it's just all giggles and laughs, and they don't understand and realize the pain that comes from that, the lack of sleep, like the lady stated, that she's uncomfortable. So sometimes they just don't think about those things, and I think we probably need to do a better job of painting that picture for them, getting them to understand that you may think it's just fun, but it's really not fun, and trying to get them to understand the bigger picture.
Right. If we could bring all the guests back, I have a specific question for Captain Pfeiffer. Captain, when you heard that message about the scam that's out there, I assume that's the scam, right? That we could track down your car, your stolen car. Have you heard of something like that?
A scam regarding tracking down stolen cars? I'm sorry.
Yeah, Dorothy, the woman who had her car stolen, said that she was contacted on Facebook by someone who said, "I could track down your car if you send me, if you cash at me $300, we could track it down." I assume that's a scam, right?
Yeah, that would be a scam. And in some circumstances, if the suspects know who the victim is, maybe just from the neighborhood, and then we've had circumstances where they've contacted them and they said, "Hey, I'll give you your car back for, $100 or whatever it may be." But since she had information posted on, I believe it was Facebook or Twitter, obviously that's going to be ripe for somebody to unfortunately try to take advantage of her. And unfortunately, those situations do occur.
Okay. What should people do? Should they contact you with the scam, contact the police department, or what?
Absolutely. If they're willing to give a victim's vehicle up, hopefully they'll be able to do the same for us. And the victim should obviously give us a call, and we will take that information and we will work with it. But like a lot of scams, whether they're online or on the phone, more times than not, it's probably too good to be true.
Right.
So yes, call us. Here's
a question that came from Courtney. I don't know if you could see it. She basically says, "Is it possible for police to set up a dummy cars, specifically Kias and Hyundais? They are the brands that have been stolen the most, unfortunately. Has the police considered anything like that, setting up dummy cars as a possibility to crack down and catch some of these car thieves?"
As a matter of fact, we have done that in the past. There were some challenges with that. Obviously, you need to, from a prosecutorial standpoint, you need to obviously have certain acts be committed before we can go and unequivocally say beyond a reasonable doubt that somebody was trying to steal their vehicle. In a lot of these situations, kids are breaking into cars and they're rummaging around and grabbing whatever valuables they can. And, obviously that's not going to add up to necessarily a vehicle theft. But we have done that in the past. And I know there are jurisdictions out there that are currently doing that. And we are weighing all of our options at this point, and trying to come up with the best plan that makes the most sense for our department and for the city.
Another question that comes up often, would police consider going after parents? Is that a possibility? If a kid is 12 or 13 years old, is it possible to go after the parents? I don't know if the DA or police captain want to take on that. Is that a possibility?
Yeah, you're kind of breaking up there, but as far as parental responsibility is concerned, in circumstances where we can prove or at least have an idea that parents shouldn't where their children are, we will go ahead and issue citations for parental responsibility for being out past curfew. A lot of times it's based on the individual situation. We do, and as a matter of fact, we just issued a number of citations for a vehicle that we found the other day with 4 underage youths that those parents were issued parental responsibility citations.
This question was directed at Nakia, Dodd, and myself, wanting to know if we ever spoken to people who've had their car stolen. So, if you were listening, we had a woman on here who had her car stolen. Her name was Dorothy. She talked extensively about how she felt after her car was stolen. And I've talked to dozens of people who've had their cars stolen. So, and I'm sure Nakia has talked to them as well. As an older woman, I'm sure she hears it all the time, but I'll let her speak for herself.
Thank you, James. I was going to say part of my, when I was speaking earlier, was saying I've spoken to residents about their vehicles being broken into and stolen on a regular basis. This is not, something that I'm just learning of. This has been going on since the pandemic and before the pandemic. I mean, we talked about that. My husband's car gets broken into on right in front of our house quite frequently, because they're just driving up and down the street looking for an opportunity. to the point we had to get cameras so that we can track what's going on outside of our home. And we understand that not everybody can do that, but as an alderwoman, one of the things that I do is listen to the constituents and hear what their concerns are, which is why I said about, we're past the budget season right now at City Hall. And so to come up with funds to help families access a steering wheel lock, I put my money as well as matched it with other businesses in my district so that we could provide a free wheel lock for residents. So yeah, that's how I'm able to do that, is because I'm talking to residents. No one's sitting down, twiddling our thumbs here, just waiting on something to happen. We're hearing the concerns, and many of us are trying to find resolutions to those situations.
I have a question for the police captain. So, whenever I go driving, I mean, I'm surrounded by cars with no plates. It seems like people don't care about having plates on their cars anymore. You can make any kind of assumption you want. Is that a priority for police to stop cars with no plates or do anything to address that? It's been some thought out there. If you could get some of these cars off the street, you would probably solve a lot of the problems that exist. What do you have to say about that?
You breaking up a little bit there. I think the question was about prioritization regarding traffic issues, correct?
Cars with no plates. How we all see cars with no plates all over the place. I mean, wherever you go, if I drive like 10 blocks, I guarantee like 20 cars are past me with no plates. What's being done to address this issue?
Right. Well, as far as the scale of priority, obviously, we're pulled in a lot of different directions as far as the police department is concerned. And so if officers have the ability and the time to address those issues, we definitely, maybe be headed somewhere where they're, obviously it's a little more of a concern for us to get there in a manner. However, we do obviously, look at those issues and to address them. We also have we have a motorcycle that concentrates on traffic as well. And so they're around the city assisting us in certain areas, and whether citizens are letting us know about problem areas or the Alderwoman's office is notified of potential issues. We're also trying to go to areas of those issues as best we can. But unfortunately, sometimes, we can't get them all. And a lot of times, understanding the situation the community is in, a lot of times it's a matter of just conducting a traffic stop and saying, hey, are you going to take care of your plates? I don't want to write you a ticket, or we write you a ticket, but if you come back with your plates, 11 days or so, come into the station, and that way you won't get a fine. But we want you to, your vehicle to be squared away. And so a lot of times we're offering opportunities for that. We know that, registration is expensive, and, getting to and from work, you have to be able to use your vehicle. And, sometimes you got to make those choices of whether or not you're going to drive a vehicle that doesn't have a plate on it and risk the chance of getting.
Okay. I want to give everybody.
We always want to give people the.
Okay. I want to give everybody a chance. It seems like we're breaking up. I want to give everyone a chance to talk about what they would like to see done within the next 3 to 5 months to curb this problem. I want to start with the district attorney, because he said something earlier about this issue with that. We know that the programs are not matching up to the kids, and so I'll start with you, DA.
Yeah, thank you, James. What really strikes me about the conversation is how deeply interconnected everybody is, and the harms that are created by one person really ripple throughout the entire community. And you heard the question about restorative justice. I think that everybody in the criminal justice system, police, prosecutors, judges, defense attorneys, wish that there was more of a capacity and really deeply resourced throughout the community to start addressing that issue, is how deeply connected people are. And so when people talk about redirecting resources, I think that's ultimately what they're talking about, is really building up that community capacity to let everybody see that you know, they're all hurting. People are hurting in so many different ways right now, but it just, all you're doing is compounding the hurt when you steal somebody's car. And to understand that before you take the act, to understand the ripple effect in the community, that's the promise of community-based groups that can conduct that restorative practice. But as it stands right now, the majority of the problems that come to the community, there's this expectation that the police and the prosecutors and the courts are going to solve it all. And there's some that we have to. When you've taken it to the point where you've really hurt somebody and endangered somebody, there has to be an intervention. But ultimately, we couldn't agree more that we want to see entities like Running Rebels be able to triple, quadruple their capacity, because we know that when they're given the kind of resources, that they make a huge difference.
Thank you. Nakia Dot.
Yes. Can you repeat the question again for me?
Yeah, the question is, what would you like to see done in the next 3 months to really address this problem, that we could do right now to address this problem over the next 3 to 5 months?
To be honest, it would take funding. I would like to work with other businesses in my district as well as around the city and try to come up with some dollars to help these families purchase, at the very least, a steering wheel lock. Again, I think if we go old school, back in the day, it worked for a lot of us. I think we have to adopt that mentality again, just like DHSM said. You know, we can't just lock these kids up, throw away the key. We certainly need resources and organizations like Running Rebels and mentors, volunteering our time. I think seeing people step up a little more and not get bogged down by the fact that, we are living in a pandemic. Again, as you can see, I'm working from home. You might can see my kids work, my child's work behind me is schoolwork, because I'm working from his playroom. This is my office now and his classroom. But there are things that I think we can do and that I would like to see happen. And that is, to really look for funding that will help minimize some of these heartaches and pains that these families are facing over the next 3 to 6 months. And even work on some legislation as well to address these cars driving around, people driving around without license plates. I am working on some legislation that I would prefer to talk about at another time once it's all developed and it's been vetted out to make sure it works. So I would be glad to have that conversation at a later date.
Well, keep me posted on that for sure.
Will do.
Captain, what would you like to see happen over the next 3 to 5 months?
Well, obviously a reduction in crime, but all things considered, I think what I'd really like to do is educate the public and making sure that they're keeping themselves safe and keeping their property safe. And, I'm just going to throw out a few preventative measures. I think there was a question about how useful the club is. Please don't leave your car running. We see it all the time, especially unattended in the driveways or in gas stations or at food places where you're going to pick up food. Obviously, with the pandemic, the challenge, don't leave your vehicles unattended. Make sure you're locking the doors and the windows, no matter what time of the day it is. Try to park in a well-lit area if you can. Don't leave valuables in the cars, especially firearms. And I know that's probably another topic for another time, but we have seen a ton of firearms being stolen out of vehicles. And that's been a big problem. The question about the club. Yes, clubs are very effective. What we would suggest is try to get an audible alarm system for your entire vehicle. Get a club or something that is called the Chicago Collar, which actually goes around your entire steering column and protects the area from being able to be broken into. And if you have money, try to install a kill switch, which essentially allows your battery to not start your vehicle. So it will never go anywhere. Newer vehicles have a GPS tracking system in there. But if you have one in there, we'd also suggest that that's a possibility for you to invest in too. But once again, we're just trying to educate the public on how to protect themselves. And if there's ever any questions, comments, or concerns, you can always call us. If you have any information regarding any stolen vehicle or any crimes, you can always contact us or contact Crime Stoppers and those situations that you present to us.
Thank you. Victor.
Well, I'm glad to be a part of this call. I think the solution to me is similar to what we're doing today, having input from all different angles and directions, definitely funding for organizations that's scrolling across the bottom. Some young people definitely deserve a second chance, and definitely some it's time to put them away for a while. The locks and the things like that are needed. That education is important, but hearing the perspective and input from my young people point of view is so important in this as well, because they're some of the ones that are making some of the bad choices, and us working together. We really need to do it together.
And I'm going to wrap it up with Kenneth, who participated in some of these activities. Kenneth, what would you like? What would you say you would like to see happen over the next 3 to 5 months to prevent young people from getting behind a stolen, getting in a car and stealing someone's car? What would you like to see happen to prevent something like that from happening?
They need to open back up the gyms and stuff like that, because the only reason why kids out here doing that because it ain't a lot of activities out here for other people to be doing it. Just people just out here in the street stealing cars.
I hear you. You hear that? Let's see if we could get, at least we see if we could get that done. I want to thank everyone for participating in this event. This is a conversation we will continue. And I want to tell people that you should also look forward to our next Listen MKE event, which will take place on February 24th, which will feature Baltimore poet Kwadwani Fidel, who would be speaking about race and how to unlearn racism. It will be an event that will be moderated by myself, and we'll have a panel discussion as well. It will be a very enlightening event, and I hope you can sign up. So look forward to that event, which will start around 7 p.m. With that, I would like to, again, thank people for participating. Get a club if you don't have one. Put one on your vehicle, because they are stealing cars left and right. 25 to 26 cars are stolen every day in this city, and I don't want the next car to be yours. So really protect yourself. Thanks a lot, everyone, for participating, and join us for the next Listen MKE Live. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.